Hey, what's going on, Periscope? Keith B. Dixon. I think I made it. I don't know. We'll find out in a second. How you guys doing tonight? How's it going? Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Kilo Bravo Delta Zone. It's official. You are here. I'm here. I've been working on this thing all day. I don't know if we're up on Facebook yet, but I'm definitely checking right now as we move along. Tonight, I've got Daisi Joe Sepulveda. She's going to be on with us tonight, and we're going to talk about the photographer-model relationship, you guys. Literally, the photographer-model relationship. What does it mean? What does it mean to have a model? You're going to hear it firsthand from somebody who's worked for some of the biggest agencies in New York and across the country as well. She is an advocate in the photography industry, a live streamer, influencer. Let me tell you, Daisi grinds for real, you guys. So we're going to bring her on in just a second. As let me, I'm not getting. Let me see here. What's going on? I'm not getting any feedback on the Facebook Live page, you guys, at all. I'm not sure what's going on over there. But anyway, let me just double check and make sure here. So you guys, as you know, I'm introducing the new technology. Okay, there we go. Yes, I got it on this page right here. Fantastic. Okay, thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm not seeing it on my page, but I got it on another computer. So we're up live on Facebook right now. So watch this, you guys, because it's going to get real interesting tonight. We're on Facebook, Periscope, and YouTube tonight. So we're broadcasting to 3 platforms. It was a little expensive to get it done, but you know me, right? I'm not going to stop. Okay, so before we go into our Q&A with Daisi, I wanted to share something with you guys. I thought that was really important that I saw, and it was kind of alarming, to say the least, you guys. It was kind of alarming, to say the least. So I want to go into that. We'll get into the Q&A with Daisi. We'll take as much time as she's got. You know me, I like to get them on and just get as much information as I can. Before we get started, let me see names and locations on the Periscope side. Names and locations on the Periscope side, and then I'm going to just duck into Facebook, and then I'll creep over to YouTube and say hello to you guys. And I'll be checking back and forth for questions, so don't worry. If you have questions, I got you covered. So let me see names and locations. Names and locations on Periscope. And let me say hello, and then we're going to get going. Names and locations. Cheryl from Detroit. What's going on, Cheryl? Daryl from the OKC, my hype man extraordinaire. How you doing? Yes, Barry in New Jersey, core member in the Bomb Squad community all day. Tories, those images are looking really good, man. Are you in the 90 PT program? What's going on with you, man? What are you doing? Yes. Looking really good. And you guys, you know I have a podcast.keithbdixon.online all day. What's up, Chuck? How you doing? You guys, welcome. And then let me see who is on the Periscope side. We got Joe, Todd, Deborah. Deborah's doing double duty. Barry, you guys are doing double duty. Dina, what's going on? And then let me just jump over here to YouTube. And we'll see who's on YouTube really quick. YouTube is, I must admit, is a stepchild for me, you guys. Don't be mad at me. Okay, so nobody on YouTube yet, but we'll get it there. Believe me, we're gonna get YouTube there. So let me go right over to the web, and I want to show you. I'm gonna take you guys over. Tim, what's going on? What's going on, Tim? There he is, my Detroit. How about now? Do you guys have audio now? Do you have audio now? Throw in a Wi-Fi if you can hear me right now. Okay, okay, so that's just got to be the slide. Let me try this other one. So, anyway, I'm going to tell the story. So this photographer sues CBS. CBS sues him back. And here's the deal. I don't know that the whole litigation thing is even worthwhile. I mean, yeah, I mean, if somebody rips you off, but if you're going to turn around and rip them off, and what he did was, and I say rip them off, I mean, I don't know exactly what he did, and I'm just speaking figuratively, but apparently he made a screen copy of something that was that infringed on CBS. You got to be careful with those screen copies. I tell you, litigation has definitely changed the way that I operate, and I want you guys to know, whatever you do, make sure that you have the legal right to use whatever it is you need to use. Even if you just call them up and say, "Hey, can I borrow this? Can I use this on a broadcast?" Whatever the case may be, make sure you do that. So I definitely want to share that with you. And the article is on F-Stop It Now. And let me know if you guys. So you guys can meet her, and Daisi, you know, I'm really excited to have you on. This is not only is this new, but I mean it's really new for me to do something like this. Usually, the safest thing is to do a podcast, you know, and maybe get the audio over Skype. I mean, it's super safe. I mean, this is super challenging, and I want to say it's super challenging because I know you've got some great information, so that fear of us not being able to get that information out because of something happening with the technology, it's a little scary. So
I know,
right?
It's new to me too. I'm over here like trying to get my Periscope together and following you. I know it's a lot.
Yeah, it is. It is. But you know, I'm loving it, and I'm loving that you're on here. So, give us the backstory, bring us up to speed about, you know, who you are, and then we're going to dive into some real serious topics, I guess.
All right. So, yeah, where do I start? So, hi, everybody. My name is Daisi Pollard. People call me Daisy Joe. I started modeling when I was about 12 years old, and it was a total, like, I always wanted to do it, and I had like this idea of what it was, and it never happened until I was about 13, 14, and my grandmother, I went to go live with my grandmother, and she took me into an agency, and I got picked up by an agency and started doing small jobs and all that stuff, and for over 10 years, I was doing just like the day-to-day agency modeling stuff, which isn't that glamorous. And then my big hit was when I became Miss Jamaica International, and I started competing in pageants. And by that time, I was in my 20s. And I competed in Miss International, Miss Earth, Miss Asia Pacific International, Miss Beauty Queen World, and Miss Ethnic World International, Miss Asia USA 2 years in a row. So I spent like a decade competing in pageants, and that's where I was able to really build a brand for myself and get like name recognition and get in publications with my name attached to it, not just being that nameless face in a magazine. And so many girls, that's what they really want, is to be an image with a name so that they can build a brand. So that's how I started, and now I'm a bit older now, so I've been in the business for a while, and I've built my own brand, still building my own name recognition brand, and kind of transitioned into like this modelpreneurship kind of thing.
Cool. We're going to talk about that a little later. So when you mentioned you didn't think you could do it, what does that mean? How does that play out?
So,
Because obviously you did.
yeah. So, so many girls grow up with this idea of what modeling is, and they see it in the magazines, especially in the time that I grew up. So I'm a child of the 80s. I was born in 1980. And then you had like the supermodels, the Cindys, the Naomi Campbell. You had not Kate Moss yet, but Chrissy Turlington, Iman. You had all of those big names. They called them like the Super Seven or something. So you had this idea of what it was, but there were a lot of gatekeepers. So you didn't know how it worked. And so it wasn't accessible. So my first stab, I guess you could say, at being a model was my mom had put cut out the newspaper Wilhelmina model search little ad in the paper. And she put it on the refrigerator and she was like, oh, I'm going to bring my kids to this model search. And of course, like many moms that see like the model search in the mall, my mom never took us. Time went by, things got busy around the house or whatever, and she never took us. So, but I saw this ad and I got the idea in my mind that I wanted to do whatever that was. So I became obsessed with like fashion TV, MTV's House of Style, all those kind of shows. And back in the day, like fashion television was something that came with cable, and it was just a show that was on the weekend on another network. It wasn't its own network. So I would just wait for that 30-minute show, and that was my glimpse into what this world could possibly be. So it wasn't until I went to go live with my grandmother that I was like, oh, this is something that I can do. Somebody is actually going to take me to do this. So my grandmother took me to New York, and I was living in Connecticut, and walked me into an agency, to an open call, which back in those days, agencies had open call for like 2 hours, 1 day a week, and you had to bring Polaroids and a com card and a portfolio, and I didn't know what any of that was. My grandmother didn't know what that was, but she walked me in, and they were like, if you come back with some Polaroids, and then we can work with her. And so the next week we went back, and then I got sent to a photographer, got some professional photos done, got a comp card, and started going out and seeing clients. And that was a very different world than like what it is today.
So going into an agency, is there a financial factor here that, you have to buy clothes? What was the preparation like for that?
Yeah. So back in the day, it was really expensive. Today, it's expensive, right? So nobody talks about the money in modeling, right? Or getting into modeling. So I like to tell people that it's the same thing as if you are trying to if you're going to college or you're going to a vocation school, right? You have expenses, and like you would any other career that you're getting started in. So not only going to see the agencies, do you have to dress a certain way, which at that time, of course, I didn't know that. But you have to dress a certain way, preferably in something that's form-fitting. But it's not a fashion show. You're not going to an agency to be to be a fashion model. Like, you're not walking in the door like that. So it's pretty basic, and it's minimal to no makeup because they want to see your skin. So it's kind of like, I like to say it's like that first date, the morning after that first date, when like that guy is going to see you with your no makeup on, right? Your agency should know you that intimately that, yeah, that they know what you look like, what you woke up like. I woke up like this. They should know what this is. All right. So you have a lot of portfolio costs. So building your book is an expense. It is a business expense, and you are the business. So, and when I started, you had to pay for film. So there were test photographers that worked with agencies, and they used to send you out to the test photographers, and it would be anywhere from like a bad photographer or like a cheap photographer would be $50 a roll, $75 a roll, $100 a roll. And, some of the big names that would, when they were available, would test models were charging $150 a roll. Now, that's just a roll of film. So for people that don't remember that day, don't know what that's like, that's a roll of 35 millimeter film. Okay. And you were paying, per roll that the photographer shot. Normally they shot 3 rolls. And so they would price it out based on look. So each roll was a different look. And then that's not including processing after that, picking the images, blowing them up to print, getting them retouched, and then getting the negative of the image, the 9 by 12, by the way, not 8 by 10, 9 by 12, having a negative made of that image, and then that was retouched, and then creating another print from that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Let me take let me do a quick commercial.
Sure.
If you're just tuning in, my name is Keith B. Dixon. I am live with Daisi Joe Pollard. She's in Los Angeles, and I gotta tell you, you gotta love technology for this reason. And we're gonna cover a lot today. If you guys have questions, please put them in the comments. I am broadcasting on 3 platforms tonight, and literally kind of untested, like, or I don't know, a couple hours tested, and we're here, so that's a little scary. But everything is going really well. So drop in your comments and your questions, and we're going to stop probably close to somewhere a little after the bottom of the hour. And I'll pause for questions. And don't be shy. We're going to cover a lot. You know me, I like to dig deep. So, Daisy, you mentioned the cheap photographers at $50 a roll, and then the expensive photographers at $150 a roll. I mean, you say that now. I mean, an expensive photographer could be $1,500.
Yeah.
I mean, that's crazy. But what made the difference? I mean, was a $150 photographer back then? Was that going to be the person that was going to take the images that were going to launch your career? How did that whole thing work? I mean,
So agencies, so there were real gatekeepers back in that day, right? So agencies were the real gatekeepers, and they sent you to the photographers, and the photographers, it could be anywhere from Mark Fisher, who was really big back then. It could be Fidel, who does Miss Universe now, Miss USA, Miss Universe, all of those shots. In the middle range agencies would send you to like middle range photographers. Israel Cologne was one of them. There's some of them. Oh God, I can't think of the guy's name now. That was on one of the reality shows, the model reality shows. There were different levels, and basically you were paying for access, right? I mean, they didn't say it that way, but quality came into the picture. But at the same time, these are your starter photos, right? This is your first portfolio. You're paying to get past the gatekeepers and to be in this circle where you're building a relationship so that you can get work. So a lot of models don't get it in the beginning. They think, why don't you just choose me? I'm pretty, I'm thin. Why don't you just choose me and make me a star? But they don't understand. Go ahead.
So Calvin on Periscope asked a question, and I think the timing of the question is good. And you guys, if you do have questions, I'm looking at the timing of that question and how it fits into what we're talking about, so we don't deviate so far off track. So bear with me. I see your questions. Calvin asked a question which was actually timely. As a photographer, how do we get models into the studio? And how do you know that photographer is not going to be creepy, or they can actually execute? They understand the symmetry and the structure of your face. They understand how to get you to not smile. I like to say smize. Tyra
Smile.
Yes, the smize.
Yeah.
How does that happen? Like, how do you make that choice?
So a big part of it is there's a saying like you're only as good as your last job, right? So models and photographers are sizing each other up for the same thing. What can we create together that's going to get us to the next level or get us seen by somebody else, get us an opportunity? And so the thing with models, number one, need to have pictures taken all the time. So a lot of times the model's discernment about the quality of the photographer is not always there. You find this a lot with models that are often rejected by the agencies. So they'll pretty much shoot. They're just kind of like spraying anywhere, like trying to shoot with anyone. But you have the same thing with photographers too. They just want to shoot a girl. They don't have a lot of discernment about whether that girl is a fashion model, a swimsuit model, a pinup model, a Playboy model, or anything like that. They just see a girl and they want to shoot her. She's willing to shoot. I'm willing to, I'm gonna take pictures of this girl. But there needs to be more behind that. So there needs to be understanding of what type of model you're shooting, and then executing how to shoot that model in a context that will bring her more opportunities. So, and the same thing with a model and photographer. So if you're looking at a photographer's book and it looks really amateur, but you want to shoot something that looks like Vogue, you're not going to get it with that photographer. So, but there's a lot of different things in between. So to get a pro model to shoot with you, you got to have some good work. And then there's also like the incentivization. So you are going to want to incentivize an experienced pro model to shoot with you if you're a lesser experienced photographer. Maybe you're doing a paid test, right, to get a professional model to shoot with you. That is an investment in your business. That is a way for you to advance your portfolio. The same way that an amateur model would need to pay a pro photographer to advance her portfolio. Oftentimes you find in this business that pro photographers will charge the model, or are very quick to charge a model for portfolio development, but are not willing, they're very reluctant to pay a pro model to develop their portfolio, because it's looked at as there is an abundance of aspiring models trying to get through the gates, and there's not enough, the photographers versus models. So we are in control, and we decide to let you, model, because if you don't want to do it for free, another girl will do it for free.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's pretty heavy. So how do you? Hang on a second, I got a little feedback here. So you mentioned a lot of important things I feel that photographers should definitely know, but for you as a model, how can you tell if you're super brand new? How can you tell whether or not a photographer is an amateur? I mean, I know there's some things with the books per se, but how do you really know that? I mean, because sometimes there are some photographers out there that are pretty amateurs, but they can do the average image.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, does that count? I mean, how do we filter these people out?
So this is tough, especially when you have guy with camera on the internet, right? It's really tough. And there's some guys with cameras that are pretty good, and it's hard to tell. So one of the things that I like to recommend is that the model look for a photographer, or look at the photographer to see if they've gotten any work, right? So if they've done anything published. Obviously, most of the stuff that's published today is published digitally. So you're just looking for their work online. It's not so much about them having like a physical portfolio or something. Another thing is referrals. So having that referral is in that validation that you are legit and that you've got experience is a big thing, because everything in this business is about relationships and reputation. So models need to ask them like, oh, who else have you worked with? And so the photographer should have worked with someone that, as at least got a really good portfolio, So it is a relationships game, and it is like kind of like a building as you go. And then and if you're an amateur and you're really amateur, then it is a catch-22 where you have to get better in order to shoot better and get better models and stuff like that.
Tell us about a time when you just encountered that creepy photographer. You're kind of like, but their work was good. Their work was good, but they were just kind of creepy. Like,
that's my whole career. Okay, so yeah, I have so many stories, especially especially before the internet became I would say right before the internet became a big thing, and then during when the internet became a big thing, and digital cameras became more accessible. You have like guys with camera everywhere, right? So, but like on the pro side, let's just talk about like the high end, high caliber photographers and stuff like that. And I think it's very timely because right now we've got a lot of stuff coming out about Harvey Weinstein and about the House of Cards guy and everything. So we're pretending that all of this stuff is brand new and we didn't know it was happening. The modeling industry and the film industry are very small circles, and it's really difficult to work on the set and not know what somebody else is about and what kind of lifestyle they lead. So with photographers and agencies, every agency knows every creepy photographer because it's full of women. Women are the largest workforce in the fashion industry, and women gossip, women talk, and we either throw each other under the bus or we look out for each other, and sometimes we do it at the same time. So if there's a creepy photographer, then every girl knows he's creepy. It's just a matter of how we're going to navigate the situation so that we can still have that opportunity, because that creep is a gatekeeper that we have to get around. And so how are we going to navigate that situation? And is it someone that we would remotely sleep with so that we can get through? Or can we kind of like flirt and push him to the side? Or do we have the power to out this person, right? Which model is big enough to out this person and throw them under the bus, right? So, and if there's no one, if that photographer is so big that no one can, then you either have the reputation and the clout as a model to garner their respect, so they respect you and they do the job, or you are trying to like avoid their come-ons and all that other stuff. You're dancing around it. You can do a song and dance. I think Cindy Crawford said that she doesn't have a Me Too moment. The reason why she doesn't have a Me Too moment is she was really good about kind of like moving those come-ons out of the way, finessing them out of the way. But I've had photographers show me their packages and not their photography packages.
Right.
I've like, just take it out. Like you're on set, you're doing a photo shoot, and makeup artist is in the makeup room or something, and he's just
going in.
Yeah, and fully erect. I've had photographers touch me inappropriately, and not because they were trying to reposition my body for a pose or fix my clothing. And you're just, and it happens, and you're just like, wait, what? Like what? Yeah, and it is awkward no matter what. I had one photographer who was a very famous Black photographer who shot like all the famous Black models, especially the ones that did beauty campaigns. And my agency at the time, I want to say it was, I think it's like Carmen DeMarco, you know which one I'm talking about in New York? She did all the Black beauty ads. So she sent me to him to get beauty shots. And he sat down and he just decided to tell me about all of the models that he slept with as he went through his portfolio. Every one of them that he slept with, and these were young girls. And they all slept with him because he was the biggest beauty photographer for Black models in the business. So
wow. So Becky Lou Brooks on Facebook, she says, not professional. It's a shame that they show themselves. I'm going to just share some of these comments with you.
Yeah.
Let me see here. Who else? Those are the blaring comments. As from a model standpoint, why let this go on? Why accept this? Why condone it? Because if you don't say something, it's almost like you're going along with the program. Like, why are models, in a position like? Why do they put themselves in a position like that? And I'm not saying that they're at fault, but if someone touches you inappropriately, I think the buck stops right there. Something should be done. If it doesn't, now we share in the chaos, so to speak, and point one finger three are coming back at you.
Hmm.
Where do we? I mean, how do we do? I'm asking you a complicated question.
It's a
It's
complicated.
probably it's rhetorical,
It
but
is. It's complicated, but um, I will put it. I will. I guess the best way. I will explain it the best way I can, and I really try to do this justice and give a fair explanation that is blunt, but at the same time digestible. Um, the main reason is because you have the largest workforce in the fashion industry at the bottom. So the assumption is that if you're a model and you are signed with a big agency that you're making six figures or more, and you are not. Most girls live in a model house, model apartment that has 1 to 2 bedrooms, one bathroom, and they live on bunk beds that are 4 to a room. One of the reasons why American agencies switched over to using Russian models is because they don't have power. They're here on a visa and they have to do what the agency wants them to do in order to work. Another reason is because all of the big modeling agencies are funded by private equity funds. So they don't even have the power. Agencies are not profitable, right? So the way agencies make money is they make like 20% from the model commission. They make 20% from the client. Most of the time to get the client, they eat that 20%. And and the model ends up paying for that. The model also has responsible for every dollar that the agency has fronted them, including portfolio costs, housing, traveling, and anything else that the model needs in order to work. So you have most of the reasons why models don't speak up for themselves because they don't have any power and they don't have any money. They have an image, but as soon as they say something, that image is tarnished with uh, defamatory remarks about their promiscuity or their eating disorder or their drug habit, when all along those things were supported by the agency and by the other people that are the same ones blaming them for it.
so what do you see? I'm a new photographer starting out, and I want to shoot fashion. I want to be like a Matthew George Smith. That's where I'm headed. What do you suggest? I do. To advance my career from your standpoint.
Um, Shoot. Okay, so most of the time people say, well, I want to be this, but how do I get there? But they're not picking up the damn camera, right? They're not networking. They're not marketing themselves. They're putting a post once a month on their Facebook or on their Instagram. But they're waiting for someone to find them. And that's not how you build anything. So if you were a lawyer and you were building a law firm, then you would do a hell of a lot more marketing and networking and rubbing shoulders, and you would practice law in as many ways as you possibly could until you got great. Well, photography is the same way, right? So a photographer that's not working on his craft or her craft um, consistently um, is not going to be that kind of photographer, is not going to make it there. You need to surround yourself with what business people call a plus, minus, and an equal, right? Someone that's better than you, someone that's equal to you, and someone that you can mentor so that you can teach them, you can practice what you learned from
That's
your
dope.
plus and your equal, and you can teach your minus, and that's how you get better.
That's dope.
That
I
is
love that.
that is everything in life.
Daisy, you dope.
Thank
Hey,
you.
let me go to a quick break. You guys, if you're just tuning in, if you're watching on whatever platform you're watching on, I'm on 3: YouTube, Facebook, and Periscope. I want to, yeah, it is. Thank you. Captain JJ on Periscope says that statement is gold. So thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate it. This is Daisy, you guys. Daisy Joe Pollard Sepulveda. I like to say Daisy Joe Sepulveda. It just flows better. It just rolls better off the tongue. And tonight we're talking. You know me. Come on. I'm gonna dig deep. We're talking about the photographer model relationship. And I know a lot of photographers out there love fashion photography. They love, working with the models. I mean, you hear that a lot as an instructor. That's when I'm going to go get me some models and I'm going to go out and shoot. Well, you got to shoot with purpose, number one, and purpose doesn't only lie with you; it lies with the person that you're with, especially if they're a model, and you guys have worked out some type of deal. So we're talking about that. Becky Lou Brooks said you're beautiful. So
Thank you.
yes, and let me see, Felicia. Just let me see what Felicia says. Yes, Felicia is just basically she's commenting on everything that you just said. Some people just will sleep with whoever they like, and that's real. You know, some people abuse and use their power in utmost wrong way. So she said, oh, by the way, Becky said thank you. So if you guys are just tuning in, this is the Kilo Bravo Delta Zone. This is the new format. You know, I talked about it in January. I said, hey, I'm going to bring on live guests, and we're going to get not only my opinion and my thoughts and processes, but we're going to get other people's thoughts and processes. And Daisy, one of the things that I do love about you is Daisy's a real grinder, a real networker. We met, I think it was this year or last year.
Periscope. It was God, was it this year or last year? It was Periscope.
Periscope Summit or one
Summit.
of those summits.
Yeah. In DTLA. I gotta pick up my community.
And you know what's interesting? You know, I always as a social media, I like to say evangelist. One of the things that I always preach is keep your boots to the ground and keep constant. You guys know if you're in the 90 PT, I talk about maintaining constant contact. And Daisy reached out to me and said, Keith, you know, we got to do something. Let's figure out something. And at the time, I didn't know what it was, but I stayed in contact because I knew at some point there was going to be some value that we could drop together. And that's what we're doing today. And it took almost a year, but here we are. And, you know, we're delivering value. Tell us about the whole networking thing, because some of the agencies, and then talk about the agencies you worked for and how you networked with them. Because I think photographers, we are not that good at marketing.
You know what? So models aren't that good at marketing either, but when you think about it, that's the whole job in the first place, right? I like to say that I came out of my mom's womb, like selling her, marketing her placenta or something. I don't know. Like I just came out just like this. So when I figured out that I had to fit into a type to work with an agency and then to get clients, at about 15, 16 years old, I was allowed to go to New York City by myself to take the train in and go to my castings by myself and stuff. And so I started producing my own photo shoots as soon as I figured out like how to work online. So how to before, when the beginnings of LA casting and the beginnings of One Model Place, and I would produce my own photo shoots, and then I made my own com cards and went and printed my own com cards. And then I went to every showroom on 6th Avenue and went to every showroom and dropped off my com card. I mailed my com card to every advertising agency. I would stalk the heck out of every agency in New York. I went to every open call. I went to every casting that I could find. I would crash so many castings, and it was a group of us. I wasn't the only one. It wasn't like I was doing this by myself. I mean, I did this by myself, but I had friends. You could find other people. And there's a guy on Facebook. His name is Jackie Summers, and I met him like that. He's a model, like the Tyson Beckford type of model, and I met him crashing castings. And I'll never forget, I went to one casting and they told me I was way under spec. It was like for Banana Republic or something. And I went in there, like, I always looked really young. But I went in there like I was like 25 or over, and they were like, no, there's no way we called you because you're way too under spec. But it is a constant hustle, I guess, is a constant hustle to market yourself, to network with people. And you can be introvert or shy and still do it. Like, I'm a pretty shy person if you know me personally. And I'm not like super social with everyone. But when it comes to my job, I definitely put it out there. I'm definitely not afraid to say who I am, what I've done, what I'm capable of, and what I believe I can do in the future. So I think everyone, if you're going to be in this business, you have to adapt some of that, because no one sees you if you don't stand up. This is a crowded room. It is wall to wall, ceiling to floor. No one sees you unless you get on the trampoline and you say, I'm here, I'm here. Look at me, I'm here. So,
Wow, that's amazing. Something real interesting that just happened. So on YouTube right now, they basically flag the content. I guess in the title, photography and models understanding the relationship
oh,
was
wow.
flagged for review, which is kind of interesting. So I'm not sure why, um, but they. So I've just got community guideline status. So they just gave me the sad face, you guys, for community guideline status and copyrights. Well, copyright status is good, but community guideline status. I'm not exactly sure. Violation of, so photography and models understanding the relationship, one strike. I'm not exactly sure what that means.
Huh.
It's not like we're talking about, some foreign concept, or we're being out of pocket. I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm broadcasting to multiple platforms. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway,
They'll have to get
so
back to you about that.
so that's how it goes down live, you guys. So anyway, Daisy, that's something that I really like in I think in marketing, you either have it or you don't. You just have that desire to just kind of want to push through, and really, I don't want to say not take no for an answer, but you're just, I guess you're striving for that higher calling per se, and it's not going to be easy. If you were talking to a super new model who had no experience marketing at all, and I'm gonna say, just okay social skills, like what would you tell? How would you coach them along?
I get asked this question actually quite often, and especially the age of like social media and stuff. So when I was doing it, there was no social media, and there was, barely an email. Like, you could stand out if you had an email. So, but today there's Instagram, and I'm just gonna say that it's such a powerful tool. So anyone that I've mentored, like a lot of moms that have daughters, they want to get into modeling. And the first thing I say to them is get an Instagram. Like, that is a great way for people to see you, see what you look like, tag the right people, um, take images. They get to see your personality. You can inbox people. Like, it's just a great, easy tool that's in your phone. It's in your pocket. So Instagram, like, all day. And another thing is, like, there's so many small um, industry, like local industries now. There's so many different fashion weeks all over the country. And so in every community, you can find a group, you can find your people. And so just show up and network and get to know people. That's a great breeding ground for creativity and for practice, because it's everywhere. And you don't need to necessarily go to one of the big cities anymore. Leave where you came from and go to New York or LA where you don't know anyone anymore. And because modeling has always been geocentric, so a lot of people didn't realize that. Yeah, it wasn't New York or LA or Paris, but there's always been a lot of work in the middle of the country. So Chicago, Houston, Dallas has a lot of work. Miami, Orlando has a lot of work. Tampa is an up-and-coming area. So Atlanta now is an up-and-coming area. DC, Baltimore, that whole area. There's work. So, and there's opportunity, and there's people there. So, go to a group that is close to you and get to know people in that group, because that will help you, and that will build you for a bigger market.
Wow, that's some really good information. Let's say I don't have any money. I'm just, economically strapped. But
I'm going to crack you up right now. You ready?
yeah,
I'm going to crack you up. So another thing, so I hear this all the time. I don't have any money to get started. I don't have anything. How do I get started? I don't have any money for professional photos. You know, this is kind of funny, but I'm actually writing an ebook right now about this. Go on Fiverr. Put up a job, a gig. I will model your product, your fashion clothes, your merchandise, right? For $5. Everybody has a digital camera. Everybody has an iPhone, a set iPhone Plus, 7 Plus, or whatever. Takes great photos with great lighting, right? Um, you can use your phone. You could use your DSLR because they're like really affordable now. You can use your point and shoot, your iPad. There's so many. So you get my picture, you get my point. There's so many things that you can use that are professional quality, right? Most of these, if it's on Fiverr, it's digital. Maybe it's going on Amazon, right? The end image is going on Amazon. You're now a published model.
yes, and Periscope. People on Periscope are saying get out and do some trade for photos, and
Yeah.
yeah. So there's really no excuse, and I was asking that question because I know people tend to say that a lot, and even in photography. How do I get photography business? I get
Yeah.
that question, a million ways and a million times a year. I wish I had I don't say a quarter for every time I'd still be rich.
I
So
hear it now. I hear it now. I just have a few people in the front of my mind that I'm hearing it from now, where I don't have any opportunity and this, that, and the other. And it's like, there's so much, like literally, like, I'm not kidding about the Fiverr thing. I mean, you want to be a model? Like I said, I'm writing an ebook about it. I made pretty good money doing modeling services on Fiverr. And if somebody that's trying to start out and trying to figure it out, do that,
that's the
because
that's the
you want someone to pay you for something. Okay, so first, my grandmother told me something when I was a kid. That first ride back home to Connecticut from New York, when I got signed by 4 kids, she said to me, I was like, oh, I'm a model. I'm really happy. I'm a model. And she says, oh, no, you're not a model until you get your first job, till you get paid, till you get your first paycheck. And it wasn't just about modeling. It was about everything. So validating my position in whatever it was, whether it was modeling or pageants or a businesswoman and or whatever, everything is about making that first sale. So if I've been paid as a model, then I'm a model. Right? And then I'm a professional model. I'm a person that's offered a professional service and I've gotten paid for it. Right? I'm a beauty queen. Well, what do beauty queens do? They do a lot of sponsorship and charity stuff. Did I get paid for it? Yes, I did. I'm a beauty queen. Right? It's beyond wearing a crown. I'm a business person. I set up a business online, and somebody wants to buy my service or buy my product. Right? You're not a business person until you sold your service or you've sold your product. That's a big motivation to get out there and sell it.
that is, and this question I've been trying to figure out how to ask it, but I'm just going to ask it straight out.
Ask it.
You know, I studied history a little bit. The Baroque and just all kinds of art movements, and sometimes I see fashion out there, or I don't know, we're going to call it quasi fashion, and I just kind of shake my head like, wow, that is terrible. But I'm not going to get on the posting and say, hey, this is terrible, but it's like, well, they missed a mark. That's not Baroque. That's not Rococo. It's none of that. Like, let's say you get hired by a photographer and the fashion statement is just completely off base. Is that something you say to them? You say, hey, look, or you just do the job? Where do you draw the line between the booty shorts and fashion?
Okay, so if it's booty shorts, it's not fashion, right? That becomes pinup or something else, but it's not high fashion. It's not going to be high fashion no matter which angle you take the photo from. And so I try to be very clear about the terms and conditions in which I'm shooting before I show up, right? And a lot of times you can tell by the style of the photographer what type of images they're going to shoot and what they're going to want you to wear. So you kind of save yourself that trouble if you research the photographer from the beginning. And ask, like I ask, what is the wardrobe going to be? Because I don't want any crappy images of me online, right? I'm only as good as my last job. So what is it going to be? The second thing is as far as if it's real fashion or it's closer to real fashion, maybe it's ready to wear, T-shirts and jeans. That's not fashion either. It's T-shirts and jeans. Um, as far as that's concerned, I keep my opinions to myself. My job is to model the clothing. My job is not to have an opinion about the clothing. As long as I know that what I'm showing up, that it's consistent with what I agree to show up for, then it's not my job. The taste of the style of the clothing is the designer's job, right? It's not even the photographer's job. Whether the consumer will buy the product is not my decision. That's the designer's decision. That's the marketing person's decision. That's the advertiser's decision, not my decision. My job is to enhance the product as much as I can to help those people sell that product. And that's it.
It's a good outlook, and I think a good approach. And if you're in trouble, it just didn't start right then. You missed something. So
yeah.
I think by not being specific about what it is you do creates a lot of problems for you. So Daisi, thank you so much for just all the information that you've given us. I think you've shed some light. We're going to go to a quick break, and I'm going to flash through the comments. You guys, if you have questions, this is a good time to jump in and ask questions. If there's something you want to know, if you're not asking questions, I'm assuming, hopefully, we are covering everything that you're probably thinking about. That's a good thing. If you have some questions, definitely put them in. And I appreciate all the comments on Facebook. We are not on YouTube, you guys. I just got violated.
Oh, no.
I just got violated on YouTube. I wish I could tell you it's the first time, but I've been violated before on Periscope. So I'm not exactly sure why, but I'm going to find out. So thank you guys for listening. My name is Keith B. Dixon. I'm a commercial photographer all day, every day. And, I did shoot fashion at one point, a lot of it. But you know what my problem was? I didn't get paid a lot like I do doing commercials. So it didn't last long for me, but I enjoyed it, and I shot some really good campaigns. And Daisi, let's talk money now. Let's talk money because I think money is important. I shot some really good campaigns, and it was mostly opportunity shoots, and they paid off, so they did pay. But you know what? I wasn't able to make a career of it like some of my friends who are actually getting, just top tier 1% money. What do you attribute that to from a model standpoint and a photographer, just from an artist standpoint? Like, why aren't more people making a living at this?
I think you answered your own question, the top 1%, right? So, I had to go for that. A lot of it is like the top 1%. So for most of the industry, fashion, high fashion, and that includes editorials, magazines, runway, is for the prestige, right? It's my boyfriend made this comment, and it actually stuck with me, that it's for our peers, right? It's like journalism. Journalists don't write for the common folk. They write for other journalists. So models don't do runway because it's for the audience. They don't care who's in the audience. They do it for the other models. They do it for the fashion editors, for the photographers, for the designers, right? We do it for our peers. And the money is in the commercial work. That's why beauty campaigns pay so much, right? Like CoverGirl, all day long, all those commercial shots, those commercial shoots are where the money is. So now there's different levels of commercial work. There's the big commercial campaigns, and unfortunately, I think this is where I think nepotism plays a big part, because the people that shoot the big campaigns oftentimes are related or have very close relationships with the people that make the decisions about the big commercial campaigns. And so that circle is very small, and it's really hard to break through. And then for everybody else, it just tears down from there.
That's interesting. So do you feel that? Do you feel that there's a lot of nepotism in the industry?
Wait, did we just come off of Fashion Week and see Gigi Hadid, Bella Hadid, Cindy Crawford's daughter and son? We have who else's daughter and son? I mean, yeah, like it's full of now. Fashion modeling, especially runways, has either become poor Russian girls or rich celebrities' children.
Mm.
So yeah, and I think designing has come the same has kind of followed the same path, and photography has followed the same path, or is closely following the same path.
So what's your thoughts on Kylie Jenner as a model?
Well, I think she's the most beautiful out of the bunch, and I think Kim and her are the two most beautiful out of that group of people. So so kudos to them because they got all the good genes. And I mean that photogenically and composition wise and all of that. I think Kylie has the aesthetics of a conventional model. I don't really have an opinion about whether she earned it or not. Because again, we have a lot of nepotism in the industry. So it's no matter how many times, how much she had to fly and how many places she has to fly in a week to do shoots and all that stuff. She's getting those opportunities very easily. And that's something that can't be avoided considering the position that she's born into. So I think that kind of relationship is unavoidable that she has with the industry. And as long as she's doing it, and it's with her free will, then, it is what it is. And I think Kim is pretty brilliant because she's been the one that's been pioneering that family. And she's done some amazing things for the beauty industry. So I'm really a big fan, and not from a consumer perspective, but from a businesswoman's perspective. She's done a lot for the editorial and the commercial side of the beauty business. So I think the way that she's deconstructed aesthetic labor and meaning the labor of beauty, how much work it actually takes to look normal, and made that relatable to everyone, is much more of a social impact than anyone's ever going to give her credit for. I think because of people like her, women are now able to communicate, to talk, have a voice much more easily about how much work it really takes for them to look normal going to work. And we now have a conversation about colorism and what is acceptable for women of color in the workplace versus Caucasian women in the workplace, natural hair, foundations. We are now able to have this conversation because of people like her. I don't think that what she's doing is misappropriating Black culture. I think what she's doing is allowing us to have the conversation about why is it okay for her to wear cornrows and it's not okay for a Black woman to wear cornrows. The only way that she's able to raise that conversation is by violating that situation. She can't say, as I think we're getting in a little bit of a different topic, but she can't say, she can't speak for a Black woman. She can't say, hey, I'm Armenian or Middle Eastern or, Caucasian woman, and I can wear cornrows and a Black woman can't, because then, Black women are going to attack her because we don't want people to speak for us, right? And then it's like, well, shut down, white girl. You don't have a voice in this. Why are you talking? But if she does it, then people are going to talk about why she can do it and these other women can't, which I think is genius. Yeah.
So do you feel that there's a difference? Because I'm going to go down that wormhole with you,
yeah.
And dig right out of it. Do you feel that there's a difference in the way models of color are treated versus the norm? I'm going to call it the industry norm, because white, that's a little, that's labeling a lot of
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
So I'm
yeah.
going to say the industry norm,
Yeah.
whatever that may be, versus the women of color. And when I say women of color, it could mean we're talking about brown, we're talking about yellow, we're talking about all these other hues in the modeling world. Is there a difference?
Mhm. Absolutely, there's a difference. And a lot of models have spoken about it on a number of platforms. So it's no secret, especially now because there's, so much social media that it's not a secret. And a lot of models this past Fashion Week have spoken out about literally live cast backstage a fashion show that there was one model that did it. I think it was in London or in Paris or London. How many makeup artists and hairstylists just walked by her the entire time and avoided doing her hair and makeup because they either weren't trained or didn't care or don't want to get involved, right? So, and it's the stigma of what like black hair, how complicated, quote unquote, complicated it is, and not having the foundations for skin color. And they don't have an excuse anymore because hello, Fenty just came out with a line of 40 shades of a foundation. Not and Fenty isn't the only one. Makeup Forever has it. Every Black Opal, Makeup Forever is too expensive. Fenty's too expensive. Black Opal's like $2. So, and it's available everywhere. Sephora does it, so there's no excuse anymore. And I think that the more people continue to just blatantly show these differences, um, the more the naysayers run out of excuses. So eventually you just run out, right? And I think that's what, Kim Kardashian is doing. I think that's what a lot of the black models that are broadcasting and complaining about it are doing is they're just putting it out there in their own way with the tools that they have and saying, yes, this is a problem. We are ignored. You can be, you go into an agency, you have one black face on the wall. And let me tell you what happens when you have that one black model on the wall. A client comes in and says, oh, I'd like to hire that black model. And the booker goes, oh, no, no, you don't. How about, let me show you this model over here. Let me show you this one. What do you think about this one? You like this one? She's ethnically ambiguous. How about that? And really, it's a brunette, olive colored, lighter olive colored woman. And so, it's nobody wants to take that chance because of, advertisers and what they think
Okay,
customers will buy.
let's qualify that because I want to dig into that. Let's qualify that, and we're going to qualify it by basically telling people about who you've worked for and how long you've been in the industry. Because I don't want people to think that we're just sitting here making some off the cuff statement. That's like if I was to sit here and say, you know what, I researched 18 issues of my industry's professional magazine and I realized that none of the images, even of the people of color, were photographed by anybody of color. They were photographed by the homogenous continuous. We're not represented.
Yeah.
Well, that's a fact because I can pull out those 18 magazine covers. And by the way, they owned it. They didn't make any excuse for it. And they threw it right back at me and said, what are you going to do about it?
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, time to step up to the challenge. Tell us, why are you qualified? Why is that statement qualified? Why is it a fact?
So I've been signed with Ford, Wilhelmina, Irene Marie in Miami. I can go down further. I'm with MMG in New York now, which actually is pretty good at having a broad, diverse board of models. So kudos to them for doing that. I was with Icon in New York. When Icon was like a big thing, I was with CED, Cunningham, Escott, and Dipene for commercial print, Carmen Del Marco for beauty, Funny Faces Today for commercial print. So I've worked with like some of the big agencies. Everybody knows these agencies in New York City. I've gone out for tons of major campaigns, including I've done all of the major commercial campaigns in Old Navy, Gap, Banana Republic. I went out for, it was too young. I've gone out for Nike, I've gone out for Reebok, I've worked with To Exist Underwear, I've worked with MTV, I've worked with VH1, I've been on the cover of Bravo's website with my bare naked ass for one of their big reality shows. I've been on Lifetime Network. You can look me up on IMDb. I've done films with Bei Ling. I was in The Creator Will Rock with Susan Sarandon. That was my very first film. So I've worked with Pond's in the Philippines and in China and Malaysia. So Pond's Beauty. I've worked with L'Oreal. I've worked with Makeup Forever as an influencer. And I mean, I've done a lot of stuff. So the New York Fashion Week, LA Fashion Week, Paris Fashion Week, London Fashion Week. So yeah.
So if you're not convinced that we are talking about fact, then I would just hit the rewind button on this broadcast when it airs and listen to this all over again. This is real, and it's not something that we're making up. Some people live in a bubble, I think, and it's like, well, that's not my fault, right? If let's say they're a non-person of color, that's not my fault. That's what they're doing. Well, if you're not doing anything about it, then it is your fault. It becomes your burden. And matter of fact, if you don't do anything about it, it's going to become your kid's burden. So, Daisy, one of the things that, and I think when we approached this interview, one of the things I got really excited about is you advocate just a lot of the right things to do. And as we've both been in the industry a long time, and you kind of get tainted a little bit, and you kind of think, you know what, I'm just gonna go. I already got my biscuits. I'm gonna go find me a nice tree and sit up underneath it and enjoy myself. But for us, I guess that's just not a real option. You advocate a lot of positive things for models that are coming through. Tell us about that.
I tried to go and take a seat under a tree and relax, and I tried that. It didn't quite work. I tried to, so I write a lot of ebooks. So I've written an ebook called Start a Model. It's basically a short guide to helping girls get started in the modeling industry. And it's not written, no offense, it's not written by a dude. So what I found was a lot of the stuff for models was written by men. And I said, well, that's interesting because most of the workforce is women and they're young girls. And so these are old Caucasian men writing these books. And I said, and making these videos, these tutorials. And I said, okay, well, they really need another voice of reason here and some other guidance. So I've written a couple of ebooks. I blog about the issues in the modeling industry a lot. I mentor a lot of girls. I'm working on building out an online community to help train and mentor girls that are just starting out their career and need to learn the technical side of modeling. So not only the posing and the walking and all that stuff that they teach you at conventional modeling schools, but they charge you a ton of money for. I'm trying to make it super, super affordable. Like you can earn like your after school money and learn this stuff. And also creating a mastermind for more experienced models where we can get together and, in an online community and talk about ways that you can advance your career and get feedback from your peers. And I think that's really important because models are taught that it's a winner-take-all industry. And the 1% of the industry, like the Adriana Limas and the Giselle Bundchens, yes, it is a winner-take-all. But it's not like that for the rest of us. And so there's, I don't want to be like all kumbaya because there's competition is healthy, but there is a lot of work out there. And so you don't have to kind of feel like, oh my God, this bitch is going to take my job or take my career. Yeah. So I do a lot, and I'm trying to continue to do a lot. It sometimes can be overwhelming and biting off.
industry is just kind of running, you know, like the Wild Wild West, and we're all sitting on the sidelines and just kind of watching it happen and shrugging our shoulders. And you know, you talk to the old heads in the industry, and they're like, oh, you know, there's nothing I can do, you know. And I think that's what's important. It's very important that we kind of reach back and pull people through. Going forward, where are you in your career right now? What happens when you reach the age where, I'm going to say over the hill for impact? You're just over the hill, you know. It's
I'm
like
old.
me.
Oh my God, I'm so old. Yeah. So, so this is a beautiful thing right now. I think age in the modeling industry has always been a fallacy. There's always been models working throughout their older ages, you know, like in the 40s and 50s, and that's why you always had these amazing Lord and Taylor catalogs with these older, really sophisticated models. If you think about it, Macy's, if you think about it, it's always been there. But these were people that also grew up in the industry, and they just aged, and people in the agencies kept moving them and using them for different things. And so at a young age, I knew that I would look at the catalogs, and I would get the Lord and Taylor catalogs, and I would look, and I'd be like, oh, well, she's got gray hair, and she's older. I know she's not 19, and they dyed her hair gray. I was like, I could do this the rest of my life. And that is like the coolest thing. I said I could do this the rest of my life, and that'd be great. So now I'm very, very transparent about my age. I'm 37. I will be 38 in May. And I just carry on like it's another day. I don't think about it, and I don't let that limit the type of work that I submit myself for. I'm not playing or trying to do stuff that a 16-year-old would do, because I just don't look like a 16-year-old, right? So, but I definitely don't look like a 37-year-old either. So what, you know, conventional 37-year-old would look like. So I play with it. You know, I do the bikini stuff. I do the high fat stuff. I do the mom with child stuff. I do the commercial stuff and the parts, the hands, the feet, the shoes, the kitchen appliance. I do everything. And I think because of the internet, you can definitely like divide and tier out your career. So a lot of my commercial stuff is mainly online. And that allows me to do more of the prestigious fashion stuff, which is, you know, the fashion weeks and stuff like that. And that facilitates networking and publicity, which is always important, and things of that nature. So age is just, it's just, you know, everybody says it's so cliche to say it's just a number, but it is just a number. I mean, the only reason I believe I'm 37 is because somebody put on the birth certificate I was born in 1980, but I don't know. That's it. Who says that this is 2000?
How do we know that's really true? Right?
Yeah. I mean, I'm being extreme, but I don't really let it bother me, and I only use it when it's convenient. So when someone tries to like put me in my place, then all of a sudden I'm 37 and I'm proud of it, and I'm an adult. Don't you tell me what I can and cannot do, right? But for every other reason, if anyone thinks that I'm younger, I'm completely fine with that.
No, that's beautiful. I love that ideal. And you know what? I'm going to live with that from here out. So I got this little gray working right here. So, and luckily, you know, I've been married for 20 years, so I think I'm a little complacent in that area. That's probably one of the few areas where I'm complacent, I guess. Hey, you guys, we're going to go to a quick break, and we're going to be in about 10 more minutes. I hope you're enjoying this. My name is Keith B. Dixon. If you don't know, now you know. I'm with Daisi Jo Pollard Sepulveda, or as I like to say, Daisi Jo Sepulveda. Yes, model and actress, and we're going to talk a little bit about the acting coming up. I hope you guys are enjoying this. Is this the free, full of value type of broadcast that you come to expect? If it is, I want you guys to drop in. Let's drop in 8.8 on both sides, Facebook, Jersey Joe said we were still up on YouTube, but I'm mad at YouTube right now.
Yeah.
So, you guys, give me a 8.8 on Periscope and Facebook if you guys are, if this is that scope. It's you've got some value out of it. That's important for us going forward. Yes, they're using the hashtag FFOV, which is free full value. Yes. Yes. Fantastic. Thank you so much. If you're watching a replay on any of this, I want to thank you guys for. This is about a 90-minute journey, but 90 minutes of your time. As a matter of fact, this is going to be a great 90 minutes if you're interested in becoming a model or you're working with models. This is going to be a great 90 minutes for you. And as you guys know, 90 minutes is a magical number for me. I have the 90 PT. You've probably seen the banner flash across. That's the free photography. Well, it's not free, but there are some parts of it that are free. It's subscription based. You can pay in full. It's photography education in 90 minutes, and it breaks down. We've got the 30-minute PT to 10-minute PT. All you got to do is go to 90pt.keithbdixon.online. You can sign up and register there, and there are free courses on that particular site. You guys, that's my baby. You guys have heard me talk about the 90 PT. It comes out once a month. Every third Saturday, the 90-minute course comes out. It's intense. We cover everything from lighting, social, business, strobe lighting, off-camera flash. We're in the off-camera flash segment. I got to tell you, and some of the students in there are doing some great work. And you know, I'm not going to totally take all the credit for it because it's them actually doing the work. But we've got some great students in there. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And as you guys know, kind of going forward, Daisy, let's talk about the acting and how important is a headshot as an actress? Does it even matter? I mean, is that something that's going to get you through the door?
Yeah. So historically, headshots for actors have been everything. Meaning, like, if you don't have a headshot, you're not an actor. You're not going to be an actor. And today, so you're seeing a lot of changes. People are taking their own headshots. Maya, a famous YouTuber, she did Shameless Maya. I don't know if you're familiar with her, but she did a really popular video about taking your own headshot. Because now everyone, I mean, I have a DSLR that I can turn the screen around. I set up my own lights. I've got my own studio and situation, and I can take my own headshot. So you're seeing a lot of that now. My opinion is that if you are going to be a professional actress or an actor, then you should get some real professional shots. You should not take them yourself. They should not be converted selfies. You should go to a real professional photographer and get your headshots done because that is your biggest calling card. That's all people are seeing. And until people know you by name, because it's not even your resume, until people know you by name, that's all they have is your face. And that's the number one thing that you're going to be cast by. Everything today is cast by the way you look, your social media numbers, and what you did last. So, and who you know. So, yeah.
Did you say social media? Why does social media play into a casting?
So, social media plays into a casting. So this is also for models too. And in fact, I will just extrapolate and say it's for the whole crew. So now all crews, especially in LA, are being hired based on not only their looks, and of course that goes without saying, but and their skill level, but also their social media numbers, because it takes the whole crew to promote a project now. They want full engagement from everybody. So even the DB, the PA, everybody has to be active in social media and be active on Instagram, shooting from set, showing what you're doing every day. It's become part of the set and part of the production.
So there's a question, social media over portfolio. That came from Periscope. That's a good question.
That's a good question.
What is it?
Oh, God, it's a tough question. It's a good question, but it's a tough question. Depends on who the client is. And depends on who the client is and what the job is. Both really matter. And portfolio alone is not going to get you the work in most of the spaces today. Social media isn't going to get you the work in most of the spaces today either. But social media has gotten people work without a portfolio. Um, an example is that we hired a girl, I'm a producer on a Amazon animation series, and we casted a girl to play Miley Cyrus, and she looked just like we put makeup on her, she looks just like Miley Cyrus, and she has a pretty good Instagram following, but she hasn't done anything professionally. Um, and she's a mediocre actress. You know, she doesn't have all the training and everything that she needs to be, you know, exceptional. But she had a following, and she could pass and look like Miley Cyrus. So the following became more important than what she's actually done. Yeah. And so that's happened a lot. That is a thing.
That's amazing. Right now, does that work? Yes. So that question on Periscope, the answer is yes. You know, I got an interesting question over here from Becky. Becky says, I don't, and I'm going to read this quote so that we all have the same understanding. And this is on Facebook. I don't mean this the wrong way at all, but black people look so much younger than you are. I have a good black friend that I work with that looks 27 and she is like 45. Please don't take this the wrong way. I need that. I need that secret. So, no, Becky, that you know, we're not going to take that the wrong way. I mean, that's pretty much a fact.
Oh God, yeah.
I mean, how would you respond? What's your response to that?
Well, I mean, I could get all, I'm not a biologist. I can't like really break it down like I wish I could. But I mean, it's biology, and our skin has melanin in it, and melanin is really good for anti-aging. It's been proven, and I don't know all the ins and outs of it, but yeah, I mean, it's something that we can't help. We're not doing anything, you know, significant. And in fact, I think, like up until recently, especially, like skincare wasn't something that black people or black women went to like as a regimen like white women did, right? In general. So I mean, my grandmother, who was very dark skinned, used Noxzema and Vaseline, and that's it. She never had a wrinkle.
Remember Noxzema?
Noxzema, right? Yeah, it's super old school, right? Super old school. You know, I grew up using my first skincare. I couldn't use Noxzema. It was too strong for my face. I'm much fairer than my grandmother, but I had to use Clinique. My first skincare was Clinique. So that goes to show you 2 generations how much that's changed, you know?
Yeah, my wife swears by Clinique.
Yeah. I grew up using Clinique. It was my first skincare. My mom used Clinique. Big thing. So now there's all these other options. So, you know, I don't have to, now I use whatever the company sends me. Yeah, I think, you know, modeling isn't about looking youthful unless it's beauty, right? Just like modeling isn't about being beautiful, right, per se. Modeling is about getting attention to sell a product.
I noticed your Instagram. Now I'm working my Instagram. My Instagram was a stepchild probably about 2 months ago. Literally, like I just posted whatever.
Yeah.
You know, whenever every 2 months I maybe did a post. So you know, since I'm going to be speaking in Nashville on how to jumpstart your social media, so it became an opportunity for me to show people that you do have to work your social media. But when I looked at yours, I probably have double or triple the postings that you have in a short amount of time. You just have a very few postings, but you have like 14,000 followers on Instagram, and Instagram is a tough platform. I mean,
it is.
You have to be. I mean, you're either dialed in or you're not. So
I think I have. Yeah. Go ahead.
How do you get there?
So I have about 700 and 800 posts on Instagram. Um, and I've got 14.5 thousand followers and some change followers on Instagram. Hashtags is everything. Um, Knowing the hashtags that are popular, that are trending, and switching them up so my hashtags are always relevant to the relation to the photo. Um, or face
Wow.
to body ratio. So, you want to get a certain percentage of eyes, lips, and cleavage, belly button perhaps, or a thigh gap. Yeah. So there's
Right.
all yes, yes. It's all it's all psychology. So it's all about that clickbait,
Yeah.
right? So, people, and even girls girls like looking at other girls, and it's not about being LGBTQ or anything like that.
Right.
It's just that that's just how we are. So, we want to know how to get the abs like that or whatever it is, even if it's not an exercise post. So there is a certain percentage of that, and it's the hashtags. It's um, there are groups on Facebook that you can trade likes, and so I think it's called Instagram Fabulous or something. And it's basically a support group where you can trade likes, and every day they do a different theme. And so one is like for like, another one is like follow on Saturdays. I think they do a follow thing. They do a comments, so you can build comments on your Instagram, build likes. There's a lot of stuff there.
So there's a question that says contests and free work. Let me dissect that question really quick. Free work. How do you feel about contest? Doing contest and all that kind of stuff. I mean, do you use any of those? I'm gonna call them gimmicks. Use any kind of gimmicky stuff, or is it just organic for you?
So on that feed, I think you're looking at the Daisy Joe feed. I don't do contests or anything like that. So I do paid posts through brand relationships, and mainly curation for business development, for modeling stuff, modeling, acting, anything that basically I have to show up for. So the traditional industry stuff. It's basically like a marketing tool, and then I get some paid posts on that feed. Um, on my other feed, which I have, has a lot less followers, I'm not as consistent with it. It's my blog feed. It's Daisy Joe Reviews. Um, I do giveaways, contests, things like that to engage my audience, because that's more influencer stuff, beauty influencer stuff, and it's more B2C. So it's like just people that want to buy stuff, right? Or that are looking for the next lipstick, looking for the next foundation, Fenty, beauty reviews, stuff like that. So giveaways work really well. Contests work really well with that kind of Instagram. Sponsored posts. So I do a lot of stuff with L'Oreal. So there's a lot of the stuff from L'Oreal posted there, and Estee Lauder and stuff like that.
That's great. Daisy, we are at the bottom of the hour.
We are.
And I could go on forever because I just love this stuff, but we can't. I'm gonna have to have you come back so we can explore some of these other social media things, because I mean, I don't know if people know this. I mean, you're bigger than just a model and an actress. I mean, Daisy.
Thank you.
Is it Daisy Media Corp?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, and just the the book writing, the authorship, and people need to know that. So, just in closing, did you, was it, I'm going to start out as a model, and then you saw the end game as being, this bigger entity in terms of, the books and the courses that you do and the influencing? Or was it something that you was like, what, this makes sense right from the start, I'm going to do this? And was it just a strategic plan? How did you fall into all of this?
So I've always been very entrepreneurial since I was a kid, probably. Probably since I was a kid. I don't know exactly where it started, but definitely I've always been very entrepreneurial. I when I in the moment, no. In the moment when I was like 15, did I think Daisi Media Corp is the future? No. But I was definitely into marketing myself. I definitely understood marketing and networking. And it wasn't until I became Miss Jamaica that I was like, oh, I'm going to do a business. And mind you, this was like the end of 04, 05, and doing entrepreneurship was not what it is today, where there's entrepreneur stuff everywhere. That was not what it was like in 2005 at all, especially if you were a female entrepreneur living in the suburbs. That was not, your neighbors were like, what are you doing? But that's when it really connected. Like, I was like, oh, I don't know what happened, but one day I was just sitting. I knew I was doing the Miss Jamaica thing, and then it just hit me, and I said, oh, I'm going to open an agency. And my friends laughed at me. And I walked down the street and I said, this is going to be my office. 30 days later, I did. And it was like a 2,000 square foot. I said, I'm going to open up a studio, and it's going to be a modeling studio and an agency and this, that, and the other. And 30 days later, I had it. And I did my thing. And I did realize at that time afterwards, hindsight, is that I was very early to what is today influencer marketing and independent studios and YouTubing and stuff like that. I was very early because I was making, those little DV cameras, digital DV cameras. I was making my own like influencer videos, getting small businesses to sponsor the video and trying to put it on my website and on MySpace. And I was just so passionate about it that if anyone said anything negative, I was like, I was pissed, absolutely pissed. And I was just early to what is happening today. But I realized that I could stick with it. I kind of wrote it out. Along the way, I just did more opportunities. I did a deal with Procter & Gamble with their trimmer media, and I did some videos with them, and a lot of different projects along the way until tech caught up, the media industry and the fashion industry and everything caught up. But I really believed in democratizing the industry as a whole and getting rid of the gatekeepers. I've always been very anti-gatekeeper, which makes me sound like a rebel, but very anti-gatekeeper. And I don't like bosses. So it's funny, I like being a boss. I don't like bosses. So yeah. 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 Yes, they there's no mental preparation that can get you 100% there. So I was always scouted for pageants when I was a kid. and a teenager. And I got recruited like for Miss America Connecticut, Miss USA Connecticut, Miss Teen, Junior America, all of these things when I was in middle school and high school. And at that time, I didn't really understand the potential in pageants. I just knew they cost a lot of money, and I was already making money as a model. So why would I want to spend money to be in a pageant? And then when I came to California, I met this woman, and she was like, oh, we need Miss Jamaica. We're to go to China to represent Jamaica in this Miss Asia Pacific International. And it's all expense paid trip. And we will pay for your visa. We will pay for your hotel. Everything when you get there, all you need to do is get your dress, basically your dresses stuff. She didn't need to say anything else. I was like, what is this? And, got on Yahoo, Google, or whatever. And I was like, put the pieces of the puzzle together. And I was like, I said yes and figured it out later. Right. And then in figuring it out later, I realized I could build a brand off of it. I mean, it was like in a couple of days, like I just figured this out. And this is something that is this is something I can, bounce my career off of. So I went with it. And then after that, I was like, oh, there's a lot more of these and they're really big. And so then I went to Miss International, then I went to Miss Earth, and then I went to Miss Asia USA twice. And so, yeah, and I just kept going. And then the business side of it is the sponsorship. So I figured out how to work that, and then it just became a thing. Yeah. Sure.
Um, you guys, can you hear me now? Can, drop in. I feel like the commercial. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Drop in a Wi-Fi if you can hear me. If you got audio, okay, perfect. Um, Thank you guys. And thank you for bearing with me. When I make these technology changes, it's a disruption, but it's a disruption for the good, and because it's going to bring us one closer to where we need to go in our careers, and two, it's just going to keep us informed about the realities of what we're doing. So I appreciate that from that standpoint. So before we get out of here, I want to make sure that we cover all the questions. If you guys have any other questions, I can definitely bring Daisy back in here, and we can make that happen. Any other closing questions before we go about modeling, the photographer relationship? We touched on that. Any other questions? Thank you guys so much. I will return on Monday to Morning Motivation. You guys, as you know, I'm writing a book for the High Five Conference in Raleigh, North Carolina. I'll be speaking there at the end of February. I'll be speaking in Raleigh, North Carolina at the High Five Conference, and that's when I'm going to release the book. It's called Mindset Reset, and it is the book is centered around morning motivation. And if you're not familiar with it, every day, Monday through Friday, I broadcast at 7:35 Pacific Standard Time on Periscope, and I do what's called Morning Motivation. It is 20 to 30 minutes of just everything you need as an entrepreneur, because when you're out here, you're literally out here by yourself, you're alone, and there's no one looking over your shoulder. You have to inspire yourself. You have to motivate yourself. You are the boss, you are the marketing department, you are the sales department, you are everything in your business, and you have to stay inspired, not just 5 days a week. As an entrepreneur, As a business owner, you are on 24/7, 7 days a week. So that requires a special character, a unique person, and a way of doing things that's outside of the normal hustle and bustle. So thank you so much for listening. I appreciate you guys. I will see you soon. In the Kilo Bravo Delta Zone. It's official. Peace.